Genuine versus genius. Walking the road of recovery together.
Stigma is everywhere. We all experience it at some point in our life. Today on Health IQ, Joyce Runyan will be joining me to talk about what we recently learned around stigma. I am Brenda Bishop, your host. Stigma is a word and a topic that many people try to avoid discussing, but it is so important because it keeps many of us from accessing the health care we need, from doing the things we want to do. It's even present in the workplace, I think, in terms of people being afraid to speak up when something is not right in the workplace because of the stigma that they will be labeled or seen badly. But today we're going to talk about stigma as it relates to behavioral health because it's a big issue in all communities. So earlier this year, we worked with the state and conducted a stigma survey, and it was an electronic survey. And we weren't super happy with the questions, but we didn't have control over that because we felt some of them sort of led you to...
Yeah, they were a little leading.
But one question I thought we might talk about today is that most people, this is the question, most people in my community think less of a person who has been in treatment for opioid use disorder. And so that is me thinking, how is everybody else in my community thinking? And so that's one of the things that I thought was interesting about this survey because it was always that. How do I think everybody else thinks?
Yeah.
And I may not know. So, of course, that's all my bias as to how I would answer that. But in this, 61% of the people who answered the survey in Quake County felt that we all think less of somebody
that's in treatment.
That is in treatment.
Wow.
Or has been in treatment.
Yeah.
So they may be out of treatment because they may be in recovery, but we think less. And
that's almost 3/4 of the population.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so only 15% disagreed with that statement. So very few of us disagreed. And to go along with that, the same type of question, the people answered, most employers in my community would pass over the application of someone who has been treated for opioid use disorder in favor of another applicant. And that was also 63%. And I understand how people perceive that and feel that way. But then I think if you have recovered and you're doing good things, that really limits your ability to be able to provide for your family.
Yeah. And I just thought, is that a new question on an application form? I mean, how are they finding out this information? So it just all made me go like, oh, interesting. That's the question you want to ask.
So around the time we were doing this with the contract that we had with the state, we had an offer to attend a facilitator's training for a mental health conversation. And we attended that, and it was very interesting. And we did learn that we probably are biased and have some stigma ourselves, or our project stigma, I guess, which
prejudices. We have prejudices. Yeah.
But we've been working on that, and we were able to use those skills and conduct
our own conversation.
Yeah, our own conversation. Yeah. And so we'd like to talk to you a little bit today about what we learned at that conversation, because it was very fascinating. And I will say that I sort of sat on the sidelines. I had been out of town and not gone to the follow-up trainings. Yeah. So Rochelle and Joyce sort of took the lead in facilitating, and I was in the background getting the food out, things. So I'll let you talk a little bit about what this conversation is all about.
Okay, so the training was through the University of Rochester, and they actually came in. It was provided through United Way, and we're always really happy with the things they bring in for us to be able to participate in and learn through. And we went to it, and it was long. I think it was 2.5 hours. It was a long training. You go into these things kind of blind, hoping that you're not bored out of your mind.
Well, we did the 2.5-hour conversation, and then we did a 2.5-hour training.
Yeah. So it was a full day, but it really was a conversation. And so there isn't anyone there as a expert or a professional person saying this is stigma, this is how we work against that. And it's really talking to the people in your audience about things that we probably don't really even think about on a daily basis that affects how we look at things around us and possibly how we treat people around us. I think one of the things that we mentioned was our perception, and everybody has a perception of what's normal. And I think as we grow up and we leave our homes as children, we find out that maybe what was normal in our home wasn't normal in anybody else's home. And so those things kind of maybe give you a bias that, well, because of this, I kind of feel this way towards it. And it's not bad to have a bias, If I go to a store and I want to get a drink, then I should know, if they have a kombucha, I'm likely to get a kombucha. So we have biases that are built into our lives, and they're not necessarily bad things. But then those things can go into prejudices where we don't even consider something else at all, ever. It's just, this is the way it is. And then those can turn into stigmas, which are very stereotypical, where we look at people in a certain way, we label them, they've got a category, and they're no longer people anymore. By the time we've gotten to that point, we don't see them as individuals. We don't see them as somebody worthy, perhaps. And maybe that's why our survey results were so, I found them a little bit shocking, is because we don't actually see that person as a person anymore. They're a stereotype. They're somebody who's using substances, and they've got themselves in that place, and that's on them.
So let's back up just a little bit and talk about how the process works. So we had I think 17, 18
We had
people.
a really good turnout.
And you had videos. We had little videos that we showed.
And those were just stories from people who were in the recovery process. And I think it's really important to see that as a process. I don't think everybody just says, I am recovered. And so it's really an everyday type of thing that everybody goes through. And it's a process, it's a journey. So that's one big thing to see. I think sometimes we, on the outside, who haven't experienced any type of addiction, we just think, well, one day you're better. And maybe one day you're able to think clearer, and that's just not going to be an issue for you anymore. And that may not necessarily be what that process is for them to go through, but it is something that's every day, and it's recovery.
So we had one of our participants say that she doesn't call it recovery. She calls it transformation.
It was a transformation journey.
Yes. Yeah. Which I thought was very interesting. So to get people talking, they reacted to those videos by, standing.
There were prompts, and what did you think about?
Yeah. And people, I was really, really surprised because the group was not always a group that had been together before. So they weren't, some of them were very new to that kind of process. But they were all willing to get up and speak. And even some of the ones who appeared shyer within an hour or partway through after they would actually put their input into.
Yeah.
And that is the whole thing. The whole thing about having a conversation about stigma and opening up our minds is how we reduce stigma. And so when we went to the first conversation, we went to training and we actually went through the conversation, we did the same exercises.
Yes.
There would be statements, and statements are sort of vague, so there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
And so you're like, well, in this situation, but this situation I would feel this. So sometimes we would be like at very opposite ends of the room, and then or the line, I should say. And then people would say why they are where they're at, and you're sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, I hadn't thought about it in those terms." Well, that would make me want to move over to their side.
Yeah,
because I hadn't thought about that issue of something, or that. So,
and I think that goes back to again what we call normal for ourselves and our family group. That if we're not exposed to these things and they're foreign to us, it's very easy to look at it in a specific way, and it's usually negative, and it doesn't take, like I said, into account the person or their journey or what they've experienced or how they got to where they were. And I think that's part of the really neat thing with this is that you have stories of people who have lived that life and the process of what got them to the very bottom where they felt they had to do something different. And some of them would even just say, if I didn't change, I had death. I could die, I could wind up in prison, I could wind up. And it's very sobering because that's something I've never thought about. It's nothing I've ever had to deal with. And so it expands your thoughts, how you're thinking about these things. And stigma is just such a debilitating thing when you need help and you know you need help and you're afraid that if I say anything or I step out, that my friends are not going to be my friends anymore.
Right. Or other worse things will happen.
Or my employer will suddenly say, you're not trustworthy, and just all of these things that really make it hard on that person to say, I really have to do this. And so just to be able to be understanding of, we should be applauding and congratulating people that are being courageous enough to say, I have to do something.
Right. Well, and it goes back to regular mental health, not just behavioral health, in that people are, or even our general health. Some people are so stigmatized they won't go to the general health doctor.
Yes, this is true. Or a dentist.
Or seek that mental health care that they might need to help them get through whatever trauma they're dealing with at the time.
Yes.
And life dishes us lots of traumas.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't think there's anybody living that has not experienced trauma to some extent. And how we deal with that is how we were raised. A lot of us, you don't talk about it. You keep plugging on, you move forward. And that's maybe not the best mental health way to continue going through your life, because that's when people start looking for other things to help deal with that. And usually that's substances, it's alcohol, it's opioids, it's fentanyl, it's whatever, food. I mean, it can just be
to try to give them a better feeling of being happy or whatever. Or to stop feeling. So yes, that trauma is often the beginning of something. So during the conversation, you had people sit in groups and do group work, and I thought this was interesting. I didn't remember it so much when we did it, and then when they did it, I'm like, oh yes, and they described our prejudice, stigma, bias, and perception, just like you talked about, and then they got up and started talking, explaining their poster, just reading their answers, and how they all tied together, like you said that. And it was like a very eye-opening experience for them. They were just like, oh, wow.
Yeah. These all really do affect each other and build.
And they had a lot of great conversation around that.
Yes. It was really they were great. And it went so well because of the people that participated. And like Brenda said, everybody participated. Because Rochelle and I, neither one are experts on stigma. And so it was really great to have their participation. And it's a conversation. It was talking about, well, if this person is over here and this is what they're experiencing, then maybe there's these other things involved. And people saying, oh, yeah, maybe that's right. And so it's talking. We can't learn anything. We can't move forward if we're not willing to have a conversation about whatever that issue is.
So the last thing they came up with, I shouldn't say the last thing, the second to last thing, was their positive beliefs.
Yes.
And I thought they were really good.
So Brenda does have those with us because we did this back in the beginning of 2026.
Yes.
And so I think the most important thing is that recovery is possible. And I don't know if everybody thought that at the beginning, because sometimes it seems very hopeless. But recovery is possible is the first thing. And like Brenda said, the next one was the one person who talked about a transformation journey. And I think when you phrase it like that just makes it applicable to everybody. Because I know for myself, I want to be a better version of myself tomorrow than I am today. And so as we're working to do that, everybody's on that road. And for some, we're all wanting to transform our lives into something good. And that peer support is really important. I don't think anyone makes progress without the help of others around them, to support them, to encourage them. And we all kind of make some mistakes as we go along. So to have somebody there to say, you know what, that's all right. We start again and we try better and moving forward like that. And then another thing that is sometimes really hard is just being honest, kind of being transparent about this is what the process is. And I think sometimes that's harder in a small community because we have perceptions of who people are. And if we look a little bit behind that fantastic face that we see, we might find some flaws and say, oh, But I think if you look in the mirror, you'll probably find a few flaws there too. So just to be able to be yourself, to be genuine, is really an important thing for everyone, to be genuine. And that there's an ability for recovery, and that everybody's human, like I said. We all have our faults and flaws, and we're all working to be better people as well. And there's some humility in that too, when you realize, I'm not all that. And I have some room to grow and improve on. So humility is always a good thing to walk with. And that help is always available. I think especially this last year, that's something we focused on, that there's always somebody. There's 988 you can call. There's a local number for our region that you can call, that you can go to the ER and ask for peer support. You can reach out to a friend. I mean, there is always help, and we just need to be able to reach out and do that. And if we don't have stigma, people will be more likely to do that.
So at the end, the group comes up with a next step. And it all related to that help is available, because as they were talking, most of them didn't realize some of the things that were available.
Yeah.
So on our website, we have a extensive resource directory.
We do.
And with as much help as we can find.
And it's all local.
Or regional,
Yeah.
within close distance, or it's online help. And so the thing that the group decided that we needed to do was get that word out about the resource directory and create a flyer with a QR code. And then get that to our schools and our EMS and things like that. And all of our emergency responders so they could carry it and help pass it out. So we did work on that and are just recently launching that.
Yeah.
So we are getting that out into the community. Some of the other things is they felt that our PD and all of our emergency responders probably needed the QPR training, which I don't know if we've done a podcast on, which is a suicide prevention training, but it gives you the words to use, the knowledge.
Helps you with the tools if you should
Right.
run across that situation to feel comfortable addressing it. I think that's really the key point with that.
They thought maybe if we brought a youth event back that we might be able to share more resources and maybe talk about stigma somehow. The other thing that they encouraged was School Pulse, which is a program available to schools in Harden, Curry, and Roosevelt counties right now, but we'll soon be expanding into Harding County. And trying to connect our couple of STEP programs, which we don't have many, with our mental health providers so that they can refer and share with each other. And because that goes back to we have this one new resource, but no one knows about it.
Yeah.
And then trying to find some peer support workers and get them trained, which is a long-range thing, but that's even in the process. So we're really excited about where this went and how it led some things that the Health Council could work on in the coming years. And we've already started, so.
Making good progress.
So they did create a valuation for the thing. And they don't give us the actual raw data, but they gave us the things that were mentioned at the
some of the takeaways
comments
that they had. Yeah.
Yes. So you might want to touch on a couple of the comments from that. And I was just thinking about those, and I want to encourage you, if you are here in Quay County and you would like to help us put together another conversation for your community, we would be happy to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
And try to get that word out about stigma some more. So
I think my favorite one out of this is examine your biases. Addicts don't need you to be a genius to help. They need you to be genuine.
Oh, yes. That was a good one.
Yeah. And then this other one, talking is really important. It's important for the success of our community to communicate and share information. And so, like we were saying before, that a conversation is really the beginning to solving a lot of things. Mm-hmm. If we don't talk about it, we can't change anything.
Right. I think that's a perfect note to end on. So today we hope we enlightened you a little bit about stigma. I'm going to say that word, even though we try not to say that word. And our crew today was Joyce Runyan and Bobby Hockaday. And please come back next time as we will have another episode that will help you improve your family's life.
Special thanks to our guest, Joyce Runyan, Quay County Health Council Assistant Coordinator, and our host, Brenda Bishop, Quay County Health Council Coordinator.
Podcast crew, Director, Robert F. Hockaday. Producers, Robert F. Hockaday, Joyce Runyan. Camera Operator, Robert F. Hockaday. Second Assistant Operator, Joyce Runyan. Editor, Joyce Runyan. Music provided by David Morris. Funding for this podcast is provided by New Mexico Legislative Appropriation from Representative Jack Jackson. Brought to you by Quay County Health Bills. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Quay County Health. If you have content ideas, reach out to us at healthIQpodcast@gmail.com.
This podcast was created solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for advice from a healthcare or mental health professional.